have some recording here. Yeah, James, go ahead with the question.
Yeah.
Let me open the
So
developer console. If I have that, I can quickly show you an output.
okay.
And here we go with the.
Yeah, you have. Yeah,
So,
you have it
yeah.
here. So yeah, system.debug. You did account name, account ID,
Hmm.
and account number,
Yeah,
right? So previously you did not have a SOQL query for that. Account number was not there, and it gave you
exactly.
the error.
Yeah,
What are the default fields which we can get without having a query for that? Your ID and name
record type.
is one record type. Okay.
No, name also you should mention. IDs always would be there. Select,
Oh, record.
select something like name or some other fields you're giving here. Your
Mm-hmm.
ID would be default there without querying, and record
Okay.
type would be there by default without querying.
Oh, okay. I did not see the name that time. Okay, okay. Now I see. Okay. Account name you have already queried. Okay.
So only the ID and the record type. So why record type again tried is because so we need to know which record type of this record belongs to. So if
Oh,
record type is not there, that would have not come. Since we have in this account, we have configured the record type. So let's say restaurant, business account, individual account,
all
we have
right.
configured, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
Yeah.
reason record type is also tied to the account.
Okay. I got it.
So
Thanks.
all these three fields I got it without, sorry, all I mean ID and record type I got it without querying it. So name is by default I queried, so I need to get it this.
Okay.
So I was like without querying the account number, I was trying it, but that time it said me some error saying that hey, this was not queried.
Right.
So we should be very careful when without acquiring if you give it, so it will be an issue. Of course, you while developing something, you would tend to have that issue, but make sure that so being be seeing that message, you'll get to know okay, I have not queried the field.
And the
And
select statement, what you have is that the SOQL syntax
exactly.
and the SQL syntax and SOQL syntax. How much different is it?
So I feel that 99% same.
Okay. Okay.
So nothing much different. Only thing is that so far select star we didn't see, but even that is will be in upcoming releases would come. They said even select star would be there, but currently till now the programming we will see that whether select star would work or not. So quickly let me check here developer console select star from account. Hmm. So the star is not yet there, but some releases are saying that um, circle select star in upcoming release. I don't know, so they would be getting it. That is what I heard. Okay, if I just find the right article, I'll just share you guys. But the select star would be in upcoming future. But so what is the disadvantage if you think of a select star is it would try to select if you have find fields, all the final fields would select. So then we really crazy. So what to do, what to process with, we don't know. But if that comes, so you need not to worry about the fields that you query here. Specifically, you are dealing with the account name, right? So account number you didn't, you said that you missed. So you need not worry about select star means all the fields you're querying, and then you're trying to process on the records. So by that way, it tries to get all the fields. But this is yet to be an executed state. Somewhere in the article I saw, so that would be coming in the near future. So that an implementation is going on from the Salesforce side. Otherwise, if whatever is still dead, whatever the releases we have, so we should mention the field when we're trying to use it. So without querying them the videos, then we get an error. Any questions other than that?
No, I'm good.
So what about you, Tushar or Marty?
I'm good.
Okay. So yesterday we saw the constant also. So no doubt in that, right? So constants are generally uses just put final static. So once you put a final static, basically there is one time insertion or one time you assign a value. So thereafter again you cannot change the same value. Sorry, same variable you cannot update again. Anyways, fine. So today what I'm gonna do is let's get into a deeper of okay. So I was explaining here. So this is we have gone through done. So access modifier and syntax. These both thing I wanted to cover today. So what is this access modifier? Let's say public, private, global. I think it indicates individually. So let's talk about each. So when I say about a public, we say that it's available for the org, for the entire org, you can say. So in this org, if you give some class name or some method name, you can just query them by calling the method name or class name dot method name. You can do it. That's something I'm saying about entire org. The org when I'm talking about is it's if say this is McDonald's to dev. So within this org, whatever wherever you wanted to do a query or you write a couple of classes. So we don't care anywhere you can reference through. So what is that if I say within this org and outside the org? So you may have McDonald's 2 here, you may have McDonald's 3, 4. So those are different orgs you think. So of course, wherever I write a public, I can access within this org. So you may have hundreds of classes, but still you can refer within 100 classes wherever you wanted it. Absolutely, this is within your class you're referencing it. So within your org you're referencing it. In case, so we say it is a private. So you would refer only in that particular method. Private is it's I mean when you make private either a class or a variable, so it's available only for the respective class. So when I say about the global, so in Salesforce we say global is something if we wanted to access. So if you want to access outside the org, we can say if not if someone wants to access outside the org. Okay, this makes sense. Okay, if someone wants to access from outside the org of that particular classes and the respective methods, then it should be global. So within this org, we say it is public. Within the class, we say private. Within the or outside the environment or org, whatever we call, so it's global. So where you use generally these things. So I think in web services, it could be integration class, it could be REST based or SOAP based, whatever you do. So the web service classes should be a global. So where the private would be. So generally we write test classes. So generally the test classes would be private. Why? Because you're writing a test scenario only for that respective class. Like say you write a JUnit or whatever you do in generally Java. So you write a concept. For that concept, you will write a test cases. So that cases is only matchable to that particular class which you are writing. Let's say student query or student registration is a class you're writing it. So student registration test is a class which you write. Absolutely, the student registration test is matching only for the student registration class, and the test scenario is also matching only for that particular class. So then that reason we say it as let the class be a private class. So again, we test class is not a reusable class where you can use it for other guys. Where you have some methods or helper methods where you can try to create some test data that it can be reusable. But a test class cannot be reusable. Only it should be respective or specific to the respective, sorry, specific to the original class which you're writing it. So example could be I written as test class here. So a deeper example we can say um, logic class or controller class. What do you say? As and I'm giving an example of student registration, or Restaurant registration, you can think whatever it is. Restaurant registration. So this is a class you have, and I will have a specific test classes written for the same, and the name would be, so we in say Salesforce we give the name, and then at the last we open with test. So this indicates it's a test class. So specific for this class, we written a test class. So generally this type of test class we have private classes, or where you wanted to have private class. So you write a class, and class with wrapper can also be private. So where you don't want it to access what is inside the inner class stuff is doing, I don't want it to access what they're doing it. So even that wrapper or inner class, whatever you can call, so they can also be private. Because I'm saying that you can access this class inside whatever you can access. But there is something like another child class or an inner class you have written inside. I don't want it to have an access to that. So in that case, let that be private if you see. Yes, it can be private. Otherwise, publics are in general. This is in general we use it. This is general use. Is any questions here? Simple examples I've given here. So the public is often that we write within our wherever we want to access. Specifically, this private where would be used just in test classes, and also when you have inner classes, you can make it so that you don't want to open up the. And then the global is something that we say that hey, preceding to the class name, we have given global as access modifier. So that means outside the or like say SAP or a Heroku or some other XY systems wanted to connect to a Salesforce. So firstly, that class should be exposed to for the outside world. So basically, if they have this keyword, they can expose it out. So any questions here? Yes, no.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So then let me just get into this and say how a class and constructors and methods are used. Very important. So relating to this, an access modifier, what we're gonna do? So let's come back with the syntax of a class. How we do write? How do we write? So first, let me say access modifier or access specifier. Anything you can name it as access modifier or specifier, and then so you have few keywords. Let's say sharing keywords. We have this we missed.
And can you show us an example of the code if you have?
Yeah, I'll show you. I mean, firstly, I want to say a little theory of this, and then I want to show the code of it.
Okay.
So access, I'm just writing a syntax, class syntax. We'll have access modifier, sharing keywords, and then followed by um, class as a keyword, and then class name. So in the sharing keywords, after that, you may have some other keywords, which is something in terms of is it an abstract class? So again, few keywords may come. So this is general keywords which you can have, and also you may have in future, even you wanted to do an integration, you may have extends keyword, and then the parent class name. So let me not represent this as of now. When it comes to integration, that time, sorry, inheritance, that time I'll show you how do we have these extended things. So as of now, let's understand this. Access modifier, and then so you can have a data type here and data type or a variable name. So you can put a semicolon here. So if you want, you can have a so different types of data variables name. Let me put it here. So this all will help you out. So here it could be a keyword. could be static keyword, final keyword, variable name. You can do some assignment, or you can say value assign, and then followed by again an access modifier will come a picture. So then followed by keyword, then you say return type. It could be void or it could be some data type we are returning it. So method name. So the method name would give something, and you can have input params. Input params, and that would be a different data types. Input params basically. So you would give some data types here, and then you can have comma and then so on. So if this is a method that you see here, let's consider this way. Hmm. A method starts and method ends. If this is having return type, so we would return here. Return keyword would be there if the method is return type. If it is a void method, so we will not return anything here. Okay, let me construct a simple Apex class for this. So let's say a public, um, we say class, and then class name could be contact management.
Kant, one quick question. What is sharing keywords? I did not get that part.
So we say very good. So with sharing, without sharing, we have something here. And explain what sharing keywords does. So what is sharing keywords will have? So with sharing, so we can put them here. So in sharing keywords, we have with sharing, without sharing, inert sharing. So these are the keywords that we have to use it here. So if I say public with sharing class, if I do this, so it runs on user profile mode. Okay? The user who logged in, if this call is class, so it runs on the user profile mode. Runs on user who logged in profile mode. Is getting this? Let's say if a system admin is logged in, it runs in system admin mode. If sales rep logged in, it runs in the sales rep, whatever the access that we give, it runs on that mode. So why? Because if you say if a sales rep is there, an account, only I can do a read or create, let's say that's maximum I can do. But you're writing a class which can edit also. But that guy doesn't have an access to edit. So that time, so it'll no rely on to the profile, whatever we have an access to. If we give with sharing mode. When I say without sharing, if you explicitly mention without sharing, then it is running in system mode. System mode in the sense it's like a running as a system administrator. Of course, it's system administrator and access to all the objects, irrespective classes, whatever we have, no. So it's run on system mode. So inherited sharing is something. It depends on what's your parent class. What's basically it's your parent class holds the same um, access would be shared to child class. So this applies in inheritance. If your parent class is having with sharing and your child class having without sharing, then it will be contradicting, right? So to have this, to take off this confusion, Salesforce came up with the concept saying that hey, if your parent class is with sharing, let it, you put it as for a child class inherit, same level access, let it go for child, and do not need not worry about with or without sharing in that case.
So we need to be careful when we use these keywords then, right? I mean, sharing keywords.
Yeah. So you write a concept, and then if you don't specify anything, right? For example, if I don't specify anything here, by default, this is a system mode.
Okay.
If
So you have a default here for this. Is there any default like that for access modifiers as well? Like if you don't
yeah,
mention anything, it will be public?
if you don't mention anything, it's a private.
Okay, it's other way. Okay, private.
uh,
Okay.
but generally, we have to keep a variable. I'll show you how to do it. But for answering to a question, the moment when I try to create a class, so the moment when I try to create a class, I could say that public is automatically been flowed in.
Hmm.
If you don't specify any access specifier, then it is private.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely, when you don't specify, this is a private. But while you're trying to create a new class, what happens is automatically the public comes in picture. So I'll show you how it is. So I'm gonna create a new class saying that new Apex class, and I'm gonna say contact management. So I wanted to do now only contact. Let's come with the sample class first. Understand the methods, how it is passed the variable. Then we'll go into the next level. Sample sample controller. Okay, you can write a class. You can write whatever you want. So I'm just giving you a sample controller. Click on OK. Look at this. Public is by default has been come here. If I don't have this public and I'm trying to save this, so it is throwing me an error saying here top level must have a public or a global visibility. Getting? So it should be public. It cannot be private. That is what they're saying it is. Top level, whatever the class which you're having here, it should be public or global. So any questions here? But default when you create it, it is automatically opened with the public keyword here as an access specifier. So Jamsil, no, you got this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So then again, so let me write as a sample controller here first. Then let's come to that side. So I'm gonna save this. Let me come back here. Okay. Without sharing, if something I don't mention here, so this is running in a system on. So this Apex class is running in system mode. How do I identify? If you don't specify any sharing keyword, then that by default is running in system mode. System mode in sense it's like system administrator mode. Why we say system administrator mode? Because system administrator by default have access to each and every object within the Salesforce we have here. Either as a standard or a custom, whatever you do. So he has access to all. So obviously in your class, what maximum you do? You try to do a circle query and get the object records, or you're trying to insert some record, or you are trying to view someone's record who was created. So this is what this all indicates. So it all indicates about the DML of the respective object. So if you have access to a system mode, if I say, then he is having access to everything. So when you wanted to run such type is, so generally this class is like you're saying that okay, let it be universe. It's very common across some logics that you have to run. So then you can run in a system mode. If I say specifically with sharing, then we are very specific about whoever the user is logging in. So whatever level the UI we want to see, or whatever the level you wanted to update with a record or create a record. So based on the profile, let him do it. So then you go with sharing mode. So inherited, I told you like parent class, whatever you want to inherit directly to the child class, you can use it. So automatically they share all the properties of the parent to child. Okay, now what I want to say is here, I've just given the class name, yeah, public. So without sharing keyword, if you say class the keyword and the class name, I've given this. So what is the variable that you wanted to use it here? So you can say, so integer, and you can say year. So you would say the year is 2013. just 2021. So it's a number, so I'm just giving here. So integer year 2021. Just like simple data type, here we are assigning it as the name as to 2021. Okay, now so variable is different. We have done with this. So data type is there. So you can also have a access specifier like this. Again, if you don't specify anything here, it is by default it's a private. Do not expect that you give a public dot integer, you cannot take it. Why? Because uh, here it is public. If you don't specify, it will be a private. Is getting you unless and until you mention something here, it is public. If you don't mention here, also it is a private. So the same case even applies for the variables. So if I'm saying integer year 2021, so I didn't specify any access specifier here. So by default, it's a private here. It's okay. So again, public void something I say display username. So this is a method which I'm trying to do it, and I'm just giving open and close. So the moment when I say void method, so they don't return anything. So it's basically fire and forget concept. Fire and forget. So of course, when I want to do something here, I don't display anything or just like some logic I'll execute here and then close up. Some logic goes here. Same thing if I wanted to do public static keyword, I'm using it. I'll tell you what is advantage of static and public static. So I'm using a string here and then say you can write whatever the name you want. So I'm saying that get user email, something I'm giving, and then I'm saying that a method like this. So what it does, it's a static method and returns user email. It's a static method and returns user email. Yes, of course, it returns user email. What is his user email? It's an ID. So why should I write string here? The moment I write a string, so that is what it's a return type. When I say return type, you have return here. Return keyword should be there inside. So return, you were saying like this, everything. So what you're returning, if you see, you should return something like string only. String, semstr, usr, email, if you think. Some name I'm writing. That is random variable I'm giving. If I say that user email, for sure I required here. How do I get it? So if you give some name, email ID, then it's fine. abc at gmail.com is an email ID. So if you return this, it's absolutely fine. So you are returning the particular whatever the value you send that you're returning it. Why? Because you mention a string as return type, so you are returning the string the same. So then no issues. Saying a string and you're returning an integer, it will be a problem. Because what you expect, you should send the same. Here you said I don't return anything, it's a void, so you don't return anything here. So what maximum I can do? So system dot debug you do, and then some maximum you can print saying. So this is not returning anything, but just I'm saying that you wanted to display username, right? So we can say that username something here. If you say username, user info dot get username. So we have some function will write there. So let me try to copy this and then paste it here. So what it says, public display username. So let me write this. User info is a function we have dot get So get name indicates user info. So let me print this. Get username, right? So let me get a username who is a. So this is about the user who logged in and he's trying to execute this class and his information we are printing it here, as in that way. So user info dot get email ID. We don't have his email. So I would say get user email we have. Look at this. That's enough. Save it. Do you see this? This method is, see, actually what you have to do is to get a user info, what you do is select username from user where user login ID is equal to this, and then we query and then we get it. But by default, we have a few users methods, so I can use in that. Okay, so what I was explaining here is, so I want to write two methods, which is a return method, but it's a non-static method. Don't return anything, fire and forget. So it doesn't return anything, and it's a, I would say it as directly as a non-static method, and it's a static method, and returns the user email. So non-static method doesn't have any keyword here. Um, so let's again, so back to back, let's create. It doesn't return anything, and it's a non-static method. So let's have the same version for a static method. Doesn't return anything. No, we wanted to. No, it's a fine for it. It's a static method. So public static. What I'm gonna give it? Majority of Salesforce program will have static keyword. So I'll say why it has been used. So public static void displays the name we have. Public displays. Let's say static here. So you would get to know by that way. Okay, it's a static method. It's just normal method. It's a static user method. Static username. So that way you can get it out. So the method which I written is public static string get user email. Fine. I want to write a non-static method here. Both are returning only, but let's say it's a non-static method. So why I say it's non-static method? I want to give an example here. Non-static, static. Same way, non-static, static. So this two difference I wanted to give it so that you'll understand. I don't give a static keyword here. So get username. So here let's put a user static here. So all we are just finding out a difference of saying um, method name should be not same. So that's the reason method names are different. Insert logic can be same, no problem with that. So basically you're trying to get an email with a static method without a static method. And you're trying to display the username without a static method and with static method. It's just an idea how do we write a method. That's all. So in the whole case, in this particular Apex class, we're getting to know if I write a class, what are the basic return types should be there, and if I what are the keywords I can use it that I'm using it here. So any questions here? So let me try to print first. So Control E, let me do it. So sample control is a class. So ideally in Java, when you wanted to call, so you write a class name and then you try to have an instance and then you send new keyword and then you have this way. This is something called as class object instantiation. And so AB dot, so display username. That's how you call, right? A method. Is any questions here? If you know about Java.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So class name, you instantiate a variable and then AB dot display username are doing it. So the moment I try to do it, so you execute it and you should see a result which a void method, whatever you written a print statement that should do it. So username batch 33. Getting guys? So you call this class name, and with the help of the class name instance you call this variable name, sorry, method name, and try to display username is basically batch 33. So that is what our intention was. I just go get into the method and then try to display something. Yeah, you try to display some logic here, which is like debug you had there. So this all works for a non-static method callouts. This works for non-static methods. Whenever you have non-static methods, you can call by this way. But for a static method, you can't call like that. Um, Static methods to call, you need to static. Okay, to call static methods directly use the class name dot method name. Okay. To call static methods, directly use the class name dot method name. How to do it? Class name is this, and what is the method name? You have display static username. If a static methods are written, you can see here, or any the moment you write a class name dot, you're trying to do a method name. Look at this display static username, it's already been came here. Either you can copy and give it, or by default you got there. So sample user dot display username is a method which you are expecting to call. But what is this expecting? You need not worry about it. Here is you are doing a fire and forget. But it doesn't return anything. It's a static method, static void method it is. So this method for you're doing a non-static method only call out. Of course, it's a void method. Okay. Any non-static methods you have to call this only. It's irrespective it is a void or not void, we don't care. You have to call this only. For static method, always we call class name dot method name. Since we are not assigning any value of this result because it is not written anything. It's a void method. I can simply call this method name dot class name and then click on execute. And if you see a debug, so static username batch 33. Static username batch 33. So when I call this with the variable instant dot display username, it printed me just the batch 33. And then when I'm doing this method call, it's telling me static username and then the username what it is. So guys, getting what I'm trying to do is how do I'm calling, how do I make a difference of here. So you write a class, you write a method, but how to invoke? So you need to know the idea, right? So this is how we invoke it. So why we are doing here, if you see, we are doing a testing here, how that particular classes is working. How do I pass some params or how do I invoke a method so that that particular class would work accordingly. So this is something like you're doing a real call, making a test, and it's you're verifying that whether the method is working fine or not. So yeah, I'm just like giving an idea. So on top of level, we can see the next sample advanced class also we can create. So that way we will see little more things there. So we'll get more ideas there. So to call static methods, we use class name dot method name. This is why we use this static methods. You can easily access class name dot method name. So you need not to worry about invoking instances and then check it. So generally static methods are would retain the value whatever the previous program got executed. So that is one of the key benefits what static methods has. And if you are in a static method, you are referencing some other method, even that particular method also should be static. If you're trying to write some no variables, integer, ABC something, so you want to access that variables, even that particular static, even that particular variables also should be static. So always static goes in a bunch. They don't mingle with non-static people. So I'll tell you how it can happen. But see how a class method we are accessing it without a non-static methods, and for static methods how we are invoking it. So that's a two difference you need to know. So let me put this. I would say this works on all. Oh, see this. I'm saying here. So this is how you try to test for this particular method. I'm just putting a snippet there only. So in later stage you can easily check them out. Anyway, we'll have access to this particular or you can check this code in time. For display static username, I'm just giving again the same. So this is how you try to call a non-static, sorry, static methods, class name dot method name. So where and all the static methods you'd be using it, if you see all the lightning methods, lightning, let's say Aura or LWC, all these methods should be for sure they should be static, and even test methods are all should be static. Why? Because so they don't spend some time and on the invocations and do it. So straight away they pass a value directly to the class name dot method name that they pass. So that's how the values would be written and then sent to adapt methods. So you don't worry about um, non-contextual things. So what I'm trying to say here is use static methods in majority. When you wanted to invoke them or reuse them properties in some other class of thing, then you can use static methods. Because I'm again repeating it. So you are writing some helper methods or helper class thing, which it can be used by 10 people, 15 classes, other people are using it. So we don't to invoke an instance and then do the stuff. Rather, directly we can call class name dot method name. So that will give me the results of that particular method. So it will be more easy to us if you have that. And whenever you call that, the instance would give you the results which is basically written from the results which wherever it has been queried here. Again, when you do a refresh program, so you're gonna have again the latest stuff which is present there. So one of the good example of static is it returns what I'm trying to say is you have website, you have a count. Today you see 20,233 people have been viewed that post. Again, you come back and refresh and see the count has been increased. So why the variables are how do they return it? How do the calculation plus one happens it? So you should return a value of the previous page count and someone is like newly viewing it. So the previous count plus one. So these are the static counts always would be there in a website to run on to check some numbers. So basically they will all return the old value plus the new value, whatever is changing, it keep adding to them. So here in the sales program, what you say is static is we also try to return a value. So when we wanted to focus static is you should be focused on when you call a method name, directly get some value. And irrespective wherever you are in whichever the class you are trying to invoke that particular method. How do you invoke? Class name that method name you're trying to invoke. You get the right results there. So it's all predefined. So it will be more faster than the non-static methods. So that is what we say. So that's the reason LWC or any other Apex classes all try to use static methods. Even integration classes also would be static classes. Static, sorry, not static class, static methods. We don't have any concept of static class here in Salesforce, like unless in Java something we have. But here absolutely we have static methods. We have that's it. Static variables we have. One or two things you can see here: methods and variables. So any questions here, guys?
No, good. We are good. I'm good.
All right. So if this is too much basic for you guys, if you're a programmer, then let me move on to the next, where we'll see how we can invoke or do a SQL query and then get the results. That also will do it. Prior to that, I would just wanted to call these two methods also, because this is returning something. I know it's a non-static. It has some a data type here. The same thing I should return. So let's call this also. So now whatever I'm going to call it is again I'm going to do a non-static method. So this works for a non-static methods, of course, yes. And instead of ab dot display username, we have this something here, ab dot. So this is get user is a non-static method. I don't have a static keyword here. I'm just simply calling the method. But this guy is returning me an user email. Who? The user who logged in, his email I'm getting it. Getting ab dot get user email. So this would return me some value. What value? User email value it is returning it. Either you can do a system.debug directly here. What is getting? Or you can assign to a string, let's say str email, and then you can assign the values here. See what it is doing. It is also return method, you know. This is a class and this is a method. This method what does? It returns the email. Let the query do whatever they want. So we don't care. So class name dot method name. Even this is a static method. You guys getting? When I'm saying sample controller dot method name I do, then this guy also user info dot get user email. So they also doing some purpose to get some email to us. And they also returning string format to us. Absolutely what we're trying to do, and a real example we have here only. Getting class name dot method name, and this method what it tries to return an email, and this email we are pass on into our sample controller whenever this guy is calling here. Whenever I say this is static method I'm saying. It's okay, fine. So you're calling this, you're getting a result. So you're assigning it here and you're returning here. And that return value is been assigned to here, and we can also debug them same. Guys, look at this. What I'm trying to do is directly printing them, whatever the return value, are assigned to variable and then printing them. It's the two difference we have here. User email. You guys getting? User email. Your returned value stored here and you're displaying it here. So now how could I do it in system.debug? So can I do for this void methods? Please, only return methods can be printed like this. Because they return something, you can print them. Why they don't return anything? So now can you debug them? Getting guys? Return method is something returning, I can debug them straight away, because the moment I call this, it will return some value. I can directly print them. So I would say here, only return methods, irrespective static or non-static, we don't care. Only return methods can be displayed or can be printed system debug. Is getting? So absolutely I know this is a return method, so I can print inside the debug. If it's a void method, then it'll be a crazy one. So you want to see them? Yeah, we can do that also. So ab dot display username. Look at this. The non-static method, and it is a void method. See, method does not exist or include signature, because void debug is a type of system I cannot print from there, it says. So you can't do this. I'm putting it here. So do not use a void method in the system debug. Of course, for return methods, you need to use only for return methods you can be printed in the system debug. I'm saying. Okay, we have a good. So now what is our expectation? Directly I'm printing a system debug, and also I'm just putting a value to a variable and printing it. So anything is possible. The first one is line number 23. You call this method, right? I think I called them. Hmm, See, instead of running this, I called 53 line also. So that's the reason the top one got executed. So no matter. So let's focus on this debug and this debug. So line number 6 and line number 9. Do you see? So congrats, it's my email ID in the line number, this simple email that we debugged. In the second line, you see user email, where I'm trying to assign a value to a variable, and that variable I'm trying to print here. And I'm giving some statement here. Because getting the 6 and 9, you see, watch. So this is directly debugged. For a void method, we cannot do it, such debug. We can do for a return methods. Of course, we did it to display here. So this is displaying my user email ID. And again, here also that does the same, but we are assigning to a variable and we're displaying it. That's a difference we have. Guys, any questions? Yes, no.
No, I'm good.
So this is how we do a test. So I'm just putting these statements here. So it could be useful for you. So now let me get a static method. How to do it? Of course, when you are all able to do this stuff, static method should be a piece of cake again. So let me do one thing. So instead of ab.getUser doing it, so I can call class name dot method name. Directly I'm using class name dot method name. So this is something returning to me and putting the str email and then again doing the same. You're getting class name dot method name. It would call and then return something. Why? Because it's a return type of string method. Obviously returning string here, and that I'm assigning to str email. Okay, I'm trying to print them. So user email, my email ID got. So what I've did. So the method is what it does. It is trying to call user email and then trying to display back to the user email. So this is how you test it out. I think here we're good. What are the methods that we use so far? So one is about void methods we used, which is a normal flat non-static methods. Here's the static methods void, and then again non-static return methods, static return methods. Two different things we have used it. So we can advance them. How? So let me write another class. So we didn't have set any params here. We didn't query anything here. Let's do that something. File new Apex class and I'm saying sample um, advanced controller. So in this advanced controller, what I want to do is um, let me write a simple methods public static. Let me say integer and then say calculate your age is a method that which I'm writing it. So calculate your age means what? So you're gonna get send me the year. So with the current year, I'm gonna do some minus and then return me some value. That return would be your exact birth date, or which how many years you have, how many years you're old. So let's say I'm gonna pass a param called as integer and say year. Okay. So you can pass as many params that you wanted to go on. So it is something that you can keep going on. So but every param that you have to give a comma. So comma separated used by each and every input argument which you're giving it. So public static integer is a return type, I know. So what if this error it indicates here? See, it indicates, boss, where is that missing? If you have any type data type you mentioned here, you should have a return statement, or else says as missing return statement here. So yes, of course, I need to do return here. So we'll come back here. So we'll come back to the return. But what is my expectations? I need to return some integer that should be a date. Sorry, that should be your age. Calculate your age, I'm saying. So let's say integer age is equal to. So what is that current year? Current year would be, let's put system dot today dot system dot today is a function I said dot I think dot year system dot today is a function and then dot year I think it will be current year which is going to give here, let's say 2021. So then minus of the year which is coming here, and then let's say return age. So if you see date methods is of course they have this year where it is. So date, I think I shown that particular thing in date class. So in the date class, if you see, so somewhere I saw year. Look at this, returns the year component of the date. So system dot today I know it's a today's date. Dot year if I give, it will return me the current year. That is an integer format, of course, because it says 2021 minus of some number. Um, so then it will give me positive number that will be your age. Let's quickly test this. Control E. So since it's static method, so how do you call it? Guess if it is static method, how do you call it?
Just the class name and
Method
the
name.
method name.
Yeah. So it is expecting a number to be passed here. So what is a born year? Let me say my born year here, and so this would give me eventually my age. So that is my expectation. So what it is going to return me? It is going to return me some number. So let me put integer age. So 1990 is my year if you think. That's input year which I'm passing, the born year. Okay, year means you don't get right. So we'll say born year. And then born year minus of the current year. It makes sense. So born year I've given. So this method should calculate and return my exact today's age. So let me print that system dot debug and current age. So plus age I'm gonna give it. So by doing this, what I get printed my age. Perfect. It worked right. So this is how you do a call to your. So why all we doing a testing here is because you don't know the method which you're writing here. So where do you want to test? If you want to test this actual case, you need to write a UI and then should input the real bonnier from that UI and then should process and check it. So rather from the backend, we have to check it how to do it. So have the this anonymous window, call the class name and method, the variable, you will get to know the real method result what it is giving. So it is working fine. The method is working fine. The class is working fine. So now you wanted to build some UI, you can altogether you can write an UI stuff and call them properly. But this is how in a generic scenario where you have a logic to be presented. Class name and then method name we have here. Okay, so we just taken one variable and this type was an integer. So let's write some couple of other methods where something that will help you out. So public static, I'm gonna say mm, mm, what you can tell. So there would be an advanced, not advanced. I would write contact management. So where you try to do few things there. So insert a contact, get me the list of contacts, update a contact, and delete a contact. So this is what I want to do as a programming script. I just wanted to do some CRUD application type. So create, read, update, delete there. So if you write such classes, that will be useful to you. How do you write a single records? How do you do for a bulk records? So this all will help you out in terms of understanding the class logic. But here we're just making out using the return types, other stuff, how we are calling, how we are making it. To familiarize with this, we are using this stuff. So public static, let's say if I'm writing a list of account, an example. Okay, no problem. Thank you. So public static list of account. I'm just simply querying a list of account records and I say get accounts. Okay. I say get accounts. So then what should I return? You're expecting my list of account. Or if just at the very beginning, if you see list, if you're confused about it, let we can have one account also, no matter. So whatever you can give return type here. So far we're talking about integer string so far. So I can have an object also here. What is an object? Stand object or custom object, anything I can get here. Same query I can pass it here on that day for displaying of results. Somewhere is here, right? Select account name from record ID. Okay, why don't we use the same thing? So I don't want it to have list of account. So we'll come to the list account later. So one single record you're trying to process, get account by ID. I'm just passing get account by ID. So where you're saying ID you would be passing and that would be account record ID. So here you're saying, hey account, select name, come account from account where ID is equal to account record ID. So that you're doing a bind variable here and instantly it will return one record and that record you are trying to return it. Return account. So guys, what you're doing is you're trying to process single record here. So this method processes a single record based on input of an ID. So the ID is basically what? ACK record ID. So ACK record ID, whatever you give it, based on that, I'm gonna send the results back. And how do you doing it? By using via through bind variable. So this indicates bind variable, okay? It's a bind variable where you're assigning a value dynamically to get them to results to print them out. So any questions you have? So we queried here record in the past with the ACK record ID, but this time we are passing very intelligently, saying that, okay, let me get an ID, I'll send the results back to you. See what you've done, ID we have given. So you queried that ID and then finally displayed it, right? Let me do the same thing here. Let do the same thing here, but we are doing little different. So where I don't specify any ID like this, So what is a method name? It is static method, right? So it is sample advanced class. What is that class name? And dot method name is what? So method name would be get account by ID. And what you have to pass? ID you have to pass. Which ID? Let's say you're passing this ID. Of course, ID is a string format, so you need to give this way. So the moment you call this ID, we give like this, it tries to process and get me the account record. So what I do is account, I get the account record. Account ACCT. Okay, let's say ACC, anything is fine. It need not to be the same variable, and here it should be the same variable. You can have different ACT, anything works out. Here I'm just having the return value should be an account object instance. Instantiate, instantiate account record, account. So, so this ACC is having this account, whatever the query ID, it should result here. So I'm trying to display the same thing. So this would give me account name, ID, and then account number. Yes, getting? So here you try to do a ID pass and then you did a query, all that you move to a method. Now simply someone passes ID. So this method is giving me an account record. And that I'm finally trying to display something here. So now I'm gonna execute this. So in a debug statement, you can see account is McDonald's and ID is this and account number is this. Is getting? So instantiate an object and copy the value here. So in the advanced class, you could see maximum. So what you did? So you tried to call the class name and then method name you did it and you pass an ID. So here, with the help of this, you're trying to press something else or you want to display something, you can do this way. So this is what I was saying is an advanced method where I say that I would pass some params. You need to do some calculation, return me. I would send some when ID. You need to query them and then get me back. So these are the ways that we get our methods. And obviously we're saying it's a static methods. Static return methods both are. So we're trying to identify few things here. There could be void method also. They are fire and forget. So let's say we do that also. What is that? Public static. I say void method. Public static void I say. Create account I say. I just simply said create account. I don't want anything else to be done. I'm just simply creating a normal account record. This is something in a concept of fire and forget. So you just call the method, automatically some account has been created for you. Account ACC is equal to new account. ACC dot name. So the name you're giving it as Albert. And then you say insert account. Fine. So you have instantiated the account object and account object name is the mandatory field. So given that also you're trying to insert the account. And if you wish to display some debug on, so this is all just the debug, it's not writing anything. It's just the debug. So account record. Where actually here it is written something, but we're trying to do debug because it doesn't return any methods, right? Any values. So I wanted to whether this fire and forget method by whether it is fired or not. How do I know? If that method is fired, so they will have debug present there. So account record, whatever the account has been placed here, I would just keep here. So okay, let me record back. So what I was doing is I was saying that I will do a create account. So here I don't pass any variable here, but something a manual stuff I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to insert a value here where I have appended a name here. I could have taken an input from the method, but just we'll do that in an advanced class where what I'm trying to say is we have another class going to create called as contact management. So in that I'm going to play a lot of things. So just assume how do we simply create a record? Just call the class name dot what is the method name here? Create account. That's all. That's all maximum I'm going to do it because this method is simply fire and forget method. I'm going to simply call this. That's it. So where and all these fire and forget methods would be used, all the asynchronous Apex classes will use this. Okay, all the asynchronous Apex class will use. Who are the all asynchronous? If you see at the very beginning in the class, we discussed what the advanced admin classes, advanced developer class would be. Who are async class here? Async Apex are your future class, your batch class, or you're trying to invoke a kubel methods, schedulable class. All these are asynchronous Apex. So all these guys would use void methods. So they don't worry about what you're going to return it. So for that reason, so we need to understand also the void very clearly. They don't return anything, so just simply they fire it off. That's it. So when the log generates, let's see the debug. See, account Albert is created, and this is an ID. Yes, an ID is also been generated here. So this is what I want to show now. So generally, I'm talking about fire and forget method. Generally, they are asyncs. Any methods would return. So generally, they are sync methods. So they are all generally are they are called as sync methods because they don't worry about it. They don't care about what I want to return. So just fire and forget. So any methods would try to have a return type here. They are all sync methods. What you call something we return, then they are sync methods. Sync method means what? When I say hello, you also reply back hello. When I say there's a new offer sale going on, so need not to, I'm just throwing a message to you. You need not to be replied back to that. So two messages I'm saying here. When I say hello, you are replying back. It's a synchronized machine method where I can hear in a telephone conversation. I would hear for your response. So whenever you get a response on a call, what you made, it's a synchronization method. Async methods are generally they define and forget where we don't care about what you're going to return back. So just like broadcasting message. So I would say example, phone conversation where we generally expect you. I just called you to into signal return integer, so you return integer only because I called that you return me that. Perfect. Now where asynchronous method are like a broadcast guys. They don't care about what we have to reply back. So just message reached you. That's it. So we don't care about we're gonna reply back. So they are just simply no reply emails would just indicate about async methods. Yeah, today's this is all about this. I think we have taken few things about what is access modifiers does and what a class does and methods and what method does. So tomorrow we'll see simple constructors how we can have, and then we'll quickly jump on to the collections and control statements. So collections is something about how you deal with the list of records, how do you deal with set map. So all these combinations I would put into a class and then do the advanced class here. Advanced class in the sense for contact management, I want to write some advanced class. So that we'll get to know. And then later on we can have inheritance. If you do that, then we are good with the basics. Then you should know how do we write an Apex class. Tomorrow I would give some assignment. Generally to know, give. I want to write a method which would return something or may not return something, and you please process me this and give back. So I would give such type of assignments would help you out. Of course, if you simply go through this class only in Apex class only, you'll get to know the idea of it. So it's something not new things are going to give it, but few things to identify errors, few things to identify to create a logic, and then execute and show me. If that you're doing, then I think we are in a good pace. Yes, got it?
Cool. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think post tomorrow only I can give that assignment because we still know at the beginning level. Maybe doing on to the more on advanced stuff. Then based on that, we can give an assignment. It looks good. Okay, let's come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So bear me with the 8 o'clock, maximum 7:45 to 8 o'clock, which I say. Generally, I start by 7:30, right? So 15 minutes ahead. So maximum I'll try to get for this week. Till the daylight savings, I'll try to connect by this time. Then thereafter, I'll for sure I'll connect by 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
7:30.
Daylight saving is on March 15th. Sorry.
So March 15th.
Yeah.
Okay, possibly I think I can cover up the developer close by then. Maximum I can close, and then we would have started by even advanced class also. I think would have started. So there are
Oh,
either another 10 days to adjust with the 7:30. It is fine for me.
okay.
Okay, so we'll be on time then. Oh, thanks for that indication,
No
Moti.
problem.
Yeah. Oh, see you all tomorrow.
See you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.